Welcome to Talkin Tires, the podcast that delves deep into the world of tires. Join us as we explore everything from the science behind the manufacturing to the latest innovations in tire recycling. Our aim is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of tires, including how they work, how to maintain them, and how to dispose of them responsibly. Whether you're a seasoned mechanic, curious car enthusiast, or an avid recycler, Talkin Tires is the perfect podcast for anyone who wants to learn about the essential component of the modern vehicle and heavy equipment. So buckle up and join us for an informative and engaging journey into the world of tires. All right, we're back for another episode of Talkin Tires. I'm your host, Craig Hunter, the president of Tire Reclaim, and I'm here with Zach Devon from BSG Recycling, and we just went over it. He's pretty much the head of GSD, getting stuff done. So sales and marketing, as well as some ops stuff. And, we're just really glad to have you, Zach. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Really excited about this.
So, something about these podcasts is we like to talk tires and everything about tires and, not just the life of tires, but also the end of life of tires. And that's where you come in. And that's exciting to learn a little bit more about BSG Recycling and Detroit. You had a little saying there. What did you say about that Motor City something?
We're the only processor in the Motor City.
All right. I like
fully
that.
equipped. So, we hauler, processor, see all the way to the end of the life. Only one in the Motor City.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, Zach, I want to get to know you a little bit. So are you from Detroit? Where are you born and where do you hail from?
Born and bred. I hail from Livonia, Michigan. So, anybody asks, you just say you're from Detroit, but I'm from the burbs. Grew up on 8 Mile, went to high school in a very small school district. It's actually the oldest and probably the smallest in the state of Michigan. It's called Clarenceville. We were the Trojans. Went to college for a couple of years, played some college baseball, studied health and exercise science. Got that degree just...
Were you anywhere around tires in that time frame? You say you went to high school.
No, not at all.
Never. Yeah, we'll get into that. It's usually a happenstance, right, or something. Accidentally
absolutely.
Fall into a business.
Definitely stumbled into this business.
That's pretty much all of our stories.
I didn't know that this. I didn't know that this existed. What is it? We're still in January. I didn't know this kind of business existed a year ago. So it's been a learning curve, and cool to be a part of something that's helping the environment and the communities, especially around the city of Detroit. Detroiters are pretty proud of where they come from and being a part of the Motor City. So to be able to help the city in and of itself is always a pleasure to be a part of. So, went to college, played high school ball, baseball. Baseball was the heart and blood of my life up until I was 25, 26 years old. So
I love that. Team sports, right? I mean, my daughter's doing softball right now, and she's actually doing 2-a-days. So she's got a club, and then she's trying to make the high school squad as well. She's 14. Chloe, little shout out for her. Really proud of her efforts. But, so much is learned in team sports. Wouldn't you agree? How much you apply that to even your current day to day.
Yeah, I think, and especially, I'm sure you'll understand with baseball and even softball. I've always thought, I'm a little biased because I'm a baseball player, but I've always thought that baseball is one of the best representations of life in and of itself. You can do everything right. You can throw the pitch in the exact right spot, but you can still take it over the fence. And you also can do everything right. And once you let go of the stitches, you have to rely on other people to get the job done. So, it's a game of failure, and so is life. So it'll really teach you how to deal with those deep valleys that life can throw at you, but also enjoy the successes that it throws at you as well. So I've always thought it's one of the best representations. Yeah, I always loved the game, because there's days, just like in life, there's days where you're like, things are great, everything's good, and then that next day, you hate it a little bit.
Absolutely.
I was a starting pitcher. So there was days where, you throw 7 innings or whatever, you have a great day, you're the man. And then the next time you're on the mound, you get sad after 2 innings.
2 innings and out.
Runs on the board, So it's a good representation for sure.
I like that analogy. And, I tell my kids that there's a reason that it's the World Series, right? That there's, you got to play 7 games to get a real feel for the better team, because well, and in football they say any given Sunday, right? But anything can happen in baseball, and we've all learned that even with the last. Like I'm a Dodger fan, so we've gotten it 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah.
I think it's so there's so many little things that you can point out, like Freddie Freeman does this and, that, but it really isn't that one moment. Like you cannot pinpoint any baseball game to one moment, although some of them, like that 18 inning game, I don't know if I stayed up for
Yeah.
the whole thing, but there had to be something at the end to finish it. But there were so many plays throughout there that could have
Absolutely.
went either way. And it's just like, wow, how is this game still going? All of us are barely got our eyes open trying to follow along. But I really like that. It's really a fair depiction of business in
It
general, right?
absolutely is.
So then
It
after
absolutely.
college, you got to play baseball in college then?
Yeah, so I played 4 years at four different institutions. Played in Indiana, in Minnesota, in North Carolina. Finished my degree here in Michigan at Spring Arbor University.
Throwing
So
hard.
yeah, I was. I wasn't a power pitcher, but I was like 89 to 91. I was known as not a junk ball pitcher, but I was a breaking ball guy. I could throw breaking balls in any count whenever I wanted. So it gave me a really good advantage, even onto professionally as well. So
Oh wow, I didn't know that about you. So tell me
yeah,
about that. So
yeah. So
when
I
you're in college, you're getting scouted your last
yes,
year, or
the goal as a kid, it was always to play professional baseball. So I kept and held on to that goal for as long as I could. Went to a barnstorming team in Florida where I got some recognition from independent league coaches, which is still professional. It's not affiliated. So I always make sure I make that distinction. I wasn't affiliated with an MLB organization, but I did get to play and get paid to play baseball, which was always my dream and my
that's
goal.
professional in my book,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, got a paycheck
Technicalities.
with my name on it from a baseball organization. So
But you
that
should
was
be
great.
very proud. You should be
Yeah,
very proud. And you got your degree in college there?
yeah. So I had a plan the whole entire time. The only reason I went to college, it was always the goal was to play professionally. So I made sure I got a degree that would help that profession. So I got a degree in health and exercise science so I could take care of the body that would hopefully play pro ball, which it did. I didn't
Hey,
ever have
smart.
one injury my whole professional career, and that was because I learned everything that I learned in college. So
And learning like stretching, certain workouts,
yeah,
nutrition, things like that. That's really forward thinking. I like that.
yeah, I knew that it would equip me with the knowledge that I would need to compete at a high level, at a professional level, and it really did. I had like one small injury because I was overused my junior year. I had like a small strain in my teres minor, which is in the rotator cuff. I couldn't throw a ball. So that's where it kind of really, I realized there, I was like, I have to know how to make sure that my shoulder girdle and everything else is made out of steel because, any day in professional ball, it could be a great day or a bad day. So
That was
it
probably
really helped.
scary. Your junior year, like you were really probably just starting to get some attention and your coach was
Yeah.
in love with your pitches, obviously. You said overused, I'm
Yeah,
sure you don't use that term
junior year was
lightly.
the worst year of baseball that I ever had. It was the first time that I was ever scared to be on the mound, which I'm always very confident in. The mental aspect of the game is huge, especially as a pitcher. It's more of a game of chess mentally than physically because you're at the point you've been doing it for so long. It's not your mechanics that is causing problems. Your body, what you're doing. You're a junior starting pitcher in playing in college. The physicality of it really isn't the issue. So I had to go through a lot of mental training and positive self-talk and how that can translate onto the field. So that like junior year was a tough year, but it turned out to really help me down in my career further. My senior year was great. I was one of our top guys, and then obviously into the professional world as well. So
So
yeah, it
you
was
talk about
scary.
Yeah, you talk about positive self-talk, and I share that with my kids. I have four kids and pretty wide range of ages, so I get a lot of lessons that I can that I can pass on to them, but I don't know how strong they always are. but that positive self-talk or talk, or at least capturing the negative. Like if you're trying to get the positive talk, at least start with capturing the negative. Like, I hate
Yeah.
this, or I don't want to do this, or like spin that in some way. Like, I get to go to softball, not I have to go to
Yeah.
softball,
Yeah.
or I
I've
get
done
to
that
go
same
to
thing.
this job, and instead of I have to go to do like the littlest things. And I didn't know that growing up, so it's nice to be able to tell my kids this so they don't have to spend 15, 20 years to figure that out. So I think that rolls us right into probably your work career. I mean, you came out of college and you had some time. You said this was your first experience just a year ago in recycling. What were you
Yep.
doing before that and after college?
So after college, I got my first spring training invite to a team in Texas in the Pecos League. And that was right. That was, dream come true. I get invited to spring training. That's like, it's basically a tryout.
Hey, mom, I
But
did it. I'm going to
yeah, it
spring
was
training.
that
Yeah.
moment. And then
Yeah.
COVID hit. So it wiped all the dreams off the table.
So you're kind of
And
a COVID kid. I mean, you were a man, but
yeah,
they
a
call
little
my
bit.
son a COVID kid that was his senior year. So,
Yeah.
it's like COVID,
Yeah.
COVID kid is real.
Absolutely. It definitely was a setback. So then from there, didn't really know what to do. Came back home. I actually worked for the majority from like 18 to 24 on and off. I actually worked underground pipe. I did sanitary water main and storm underground infrastructure for luxury home new subdivisions for
You're the second guest I've had that's in some sort of water management or
yeah.
drainage and things like that. And actually, the other one, Rick Welly from Pre-Tread, he actually
Mm.
was able to devise a lot of swaddles out of TDA and
Yeah,
things like that. And they have a huge drainage package through Rubber Erosion, rubbererosion.com. Little plug for those guys. They're
absolutely.
great friends. And but that there's definitely a tie there, right? And so tell me about that. How'd that career move through, and how'd you get over to
Um,
tire recycling?
So we'll just fast forward. It's a lot. I've played baseball in 27 different states. I've traveled everywhere. I live with different families. So I played 3 years professionally. Did underground pipe on and off. I'm Italian. I work for the Italian side of my family. They're very stereotypical. They're excavating company. It's very very classic Italian. So I learned how to be a man out in the trenches. Being in the trenches for Stante Excavating, shout them out, Mario. If you hear this, I love you. Um,
They'll
so I
hear
did
it.
that for a long
People will
time.
hear it. They're going to go
Yeah,
on and they want to hear it, especially if you can tell your friends and family. Like,
yeah,
that's really why I wanted to invite you here. Is it really can be a moment to talk about what you're doing and what you're excited about.
yeah. We're all excited. First off, thank you for having me here. By the way, this big moment. Very appreciative of you allowing to
Well,
take the
another
time.
shout out to LinkedIn, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
love that platform. It just gives us so much opportunity to reach out and meet other folks in the industry. And it's really
Mhm.
some of the connections we got helped us get to where we're at. I just literally was texting earlier with Tom Parker of All American Tire Recycling down in Fort Worth, Texas. And when
Okay.
we got started, he's like, "Hey, before you buy a shredder or before you buy a crumb machine, come see me." And we went down there and we visited him, and we ended up buying the same system as he's got, and it's been awesome. And we sent our managers there to train. Like, this LinkedIn is really something that if someone's not taking advantage, and taking advantage is not the right word, if someone's not utilizing that in their day-to-day operation, I really feel like they're missing out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's caused when I first started, I wasn't necessarily in charge of the LinkedIn. And then I took over and I started really seeing the opportunities that are there, especially in sales. If you're trying to find a decision maker or anybody like that, that's going to really streamline the process or give you more shots on goal to find somebody that can really get your foot in the door. I mean, that's how we're talking right now. So,
I know, I
and
love it.
just
So
putting out what you're doing in the company and letting people see what you're doing. If I listen to Alex Armosi, and he talks about like people just don't know who you are. It's your business isn't unsuccessful or you're not doing things right. It's just like probably no one even knows that you exist. So
yeah,
the
and
more that you
Gary
can get
Vee.
out there,
I saw Gary Vee the other day. He's like, turn the lights off, turn the camera, get rid of the script, and just talk about yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's really
Love
what
Gary
it's about. This podcast. Yeah, he's great. Actually, my wife has a business too, and I was talking to her about Whatnot. And she actually was telling me they're doing some live sales in her store, and
Good.
that those conversations they spur, because I watch Gary Vee, and he's like, oh man, this social, what does he call it, social sales or individual sales, but in China is like multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's only 5% of Americans even know what that is, but it's just selling products live
Yeah,
on
live
TikTok
auctions
or
and everything.
Whatnot or something like that. Yeah.
I've bought things off of Whatnot.
Yeah, isn't
It's
that
a great
something? I mean,
platform.
it's really cool.
It's really
I
cool.
was looking at baseball cards, and then it actually made me go out and pull out my old case full of
I have
baseball
some.
cards.
I have
Yeah.
some. I sell them on the side. It's a cool
Oh,
little
okay.
hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just, delving into that, because
Yeah.
I went and I looked and I was recognizing some of these cards, like, oh, I have all those 89 flares and
Oh,
all these things that they're like, well, you got a King Griffey Jr. rookie, and I'm like, I probably have like
yeah.
5 or 10 of those. I need to
Yeah.
go dig through
Well,
and
I heard the collectibles market as a whole, this year it will be $100 billion market, just collectibles. So
wow,
I
I had
was
no
like,
idea.
and I had no idea either. So me understanding business and value and scarcity, I was like, that's not only cool as like a kid and nostalgia, but also cool that you can create a business out of it and help
Yeah.
people and things like that. Kind of
All
relive
right,
those
back to
moments.
business. So Mario,
Yeah,
and you learned, you got your bumps and
yeah.
bruises with Mario at the
So yeah, I
excavation
got
company.
became a man out there for sure. I was a punk 18-year-old kid, and by the time I was 24, 25, I knew how to operate, lay pipe. I did all of the cement work on almost every single job, to the point where I would sign my initials in all of the manholes. So the inspector, if he had a problem, he knew who to find, and they never found me. So took pride in that, and then played my rookie season of baseball. Eventually got through COVID, got another spring training invite, went to Bakersfield, California, which I believe you're familiar with,
Yeah,
and
born and raised.
played for the Bakersfield Train Robbers in my rookie season, who used to be the Blaze, I believe. Played
They were the
there for a
Dodgers
year.
before that.
Yeah, and
They actually called them the Dodgers before that. Yeah.
yeah, I wish Sam Lynn Ballpark?
Yep.
Yep. Played in Sam
I went
Lynn.
there as a kid all the time. Yep.
It's a great ballpark. I mean,
Yeah.
we did our best to bring it back to life and give it new life and a new crowd. And the year that I went there, we led the league in everything. We were one of the best teams. I led the league in every pitching stat, even sacrifice bunts, because it's NL rules in the Pecos League. So pitchers hit.
So what
And then
year was that?
That was 2022, I believe. 21 or 22.
My brother Aaron, he might have watched you pitch, because they used to go to. I mean, he's still down there,
Very
and they go to
possible.
games. Yeah, and
Very
so it's
possible.
pretty cool. He'll be excited to hear that, actually. So
Yeah, absolutely.
congratulations on that kind of success. It sounds like you had a real arm, man. Like you were.
Yeah, it was
really
a
going
great, it was
after
the best time of my life. I proposed to my wife on Sam Lynn Ballpark's pitching mound. So there's
Hey,
definitely a big connection there. We did it all, and she threw out the first pitch. It was a great time. Shout out my
So I don't
wife,
want to
Maria.
talk in past tense unless it's necessary. Are you retired now, or are you out of?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I went to the USPBL, which is actually hosted here in Michigan at Jimmy John's Field in Utica. Played 2 great seasons there. My final season, we actually won the whole entire thing, which was cool because in my whole career of like 20 plus 25 years of baseball, I had never been on a winning team. I was always on a losing team or like a 500 team. So I had never played in playoff baseball or high pressure situations like that. And then third year in a pro ball, I was our semifinal starting pitcher, 6,000 people sold out, so it was really cool. And then we won the whole thing. The next year we got married. Year after that, we had our daughter, and now we're getting to present time to where tire recycling comes in. So,
well, tell me about that. How did you meet these guys, and how did that kick off?
A good friend of mine, his name's David. Shout out David. He's a great guy. I was a bartender for a long time. Had that as a very good career, had a good following, brought the business that I worked for a lot of good business. But I had a newborn. I was out late. I worked at a bar that was open till 2 a.m. and I managed it. So I was getting home 3, 4, 5 a.m. every night, really struggled to see my kids. So I was looking for a way out. And my brother David, he was able to connect me with my boss here now, Ethan Dunn. Shout out to him. He's a great guy. He interviewed me. I had never heard about tire recycling. I had never, I knew about sales because I come from the bar industry and customer service. I can talk to strangers and do that, but everything else was brand new. I had no idea that this was even a business. February of last year, and they took me on, and I started to learn from nothing. I had to learn about tire
new
sizes.
eyes, right? Fresh eyes. I think sometimes a really good thing for a business.
Yes, and we were able to come in and we work well together, and it's definitely a good team atmosphere here. And we're just trying to tackle all the tires in Michigan and Ohio now. But
so I did take some notes. I'll ask you. So, like, what would you say drew you then to to the tire recycling? Was it the introduction from David to Ethan?
Yeah.
Like you're ready to have a real job. Like so, it's ironically, I had the similar background, right? I was bartending, but then manager, and then was catering manager, and then floor manager, and then
Cisco, right?
Yeah, a group of guys came over. I forget that I've aired all this on podcast, right? So you've probably heard it. I don't mean to repeat myself, but I actually was thinking about some of the guys, Mark and Steve, and I haven't seen those guys in so long, but they came into the bar one day and they're like, "Hey, we would like to ask the owner of this establishment if we could pick you off," because they were Cisco customers, the restaurant itself. But they're like, "You got something," and where that even came from, right? Like I must have just had good rapport with them. And they said, "Hey, you should really apply for this sales job." And man, salesman of the year, a few years in a row, a nice long tenure with them. And that was a great experience. And that's where I got a lot of my corporate, sales background and following spreadsheets and taking care of a CRM and understanding how business works and profitability and how important revenue is and things like that came from those guys doing that, and so it's a similar story. That's really interesting that you came from there, but it was time for me. They knew my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, and it was time to get going and start doing, something.
That's very similar.
Yeah, it is scary. So I stepped out, and the owner also, like, he could have been a jerk about it because I was doing a lot for him as like floor manager and catering manager and bartending nights. Like, I'm sure I was doing a lot for him, and for him to not hold me back, right? To say, "Yeah, go do your thing." And that was, I look back on some of this stuff and I don't realize how many key players were involved. That gentleman was Mike Fitzgerald, who ran that restaurant and another restaurant that is still very successful in the area, even though he's long retired and sold those off. It took certain people to step out and say, "Yeah, go do that, go do this," and and thank God they did. So a real job. That's why I did the air quotes, because I was in the same boat. But then, so that would be your motivator to get into this career and get in that position.
Yeah, that was definitely the why I took the job. Just wanted to be able to spend more time being a dad and being more present, and being with my wife. Shout out my wife. She's chasing her dreams now. She allowed me. She was patient enough to deal with the traveling and deal with all of the going back and forth, long distance. Her name's Maria. Devon, Maria Cars. She's beautiful. She's my rock.
And kids, you mentioned more than one, or?
Yep, and I have Daphne. She's our firstborn daughter, our only one right now. Okay, she's 16 months. Actually, today she's 17 months today. Born.
Well, they're young when you count it in months, right?
I just always say, like, to me, I'm like, she's one. That's like people like to know the months.
2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, but it comes with time. Like the months, you always know it's a youngster when they're like, "Well, how many months?" "Oh, okay, well, it's under 2 then, probably." Yeah, so that's absolutely cool. And what was her name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Her name's Daphne.
Oh, Daphne, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Daphne.
Well,
Marie.
right on. Congratulations on a healthy baby. I mean, it took a lot of years for me to understand, because somebody say, "Oh yeah, we had a baby," and just kind of goes over your head. And now I understand, like 10 fingers and 10 toes It's a big deal when they come out. You don't really know what's going to happen. And we had a scare with our last one that he had, they thought he had failed this test for some genetic disorder, and it turned out it was just a false positive or whatnot. But man, how scary, right? So now I really, really respect when somebody has a kid and everything is good. So tell me, you want to just kind of walk me through a typical day for you and at BSG and how that, how your day goes and what you're doing?
Yeah, of course. So typical day is usually check on LinkedIn, see if there's any posts that I can make or anything that I can engage with and see what's going on. When I first started, typical day was I was cold calling, like 100 cold calls a day, tire shops, anybody, just, doing sales.
For collections.
And I was, for our scrap tire pickups or our trailer accounts or anything like that. I was able to add a very significant amount of clients to who we were serving. And that grew sales and grew incoming tires significantly for
Can we
the year
delve into that just a little bit more? So in your success in that, you'd mentioned that you're the only processor, but I assume there's other haulers that maybe are taking the tires out. So who were you competing with when you're doing that cold calling? Was it what we call two guys in a truck, like guys that are just running around trying to get used tires and then scrap the rest? Or was it like actual businesses you're pushing up against?
Yeah, so there are different processors in the state of Michigan. We are technically the only one within the city limits of Detroit. So that's where that comes from. We are the only one actually within the Motor City,
which is a couple million people, right? I mean, that's
this is like where the majority of Michigan's tires are. If you really like look at it, and if you go out to the west or up north, it kind of scatters out. So the concentration of tires are right in this city. We do have a couple of competitors. But we have good rapport with them, and we do our best to try to not step on anybody's toes. Bell Tire has their own recycling company that is theirs, so they not only take care of their own shops, but they also take care of a couple of other shops in our area as well. And there's some other guys. There's also young guys that are haulers that. They have their own accounts, and depending on what processor they go to is kind of up to them.
So you had to inject yourself into that scheme.
Yeah,
kind of
and it's a lot of it's a lot of people are on the phone. They're like, "Who are you?" Or we have a guy we've been using for 15 years. It's a lot of that. It's a numbers game. You're calling. Perhaps somebody isn't satisfied with their service. We like to, or how I try to portray us with our sales, because I'm the voice of the company, right? So like I'm calling these people, and then our promise, there has to be proof in our promise. So if I'm calling somebody and guaranteeing something, I have to make sure that there's proof in that guarantee, or else you have nothing. So I try to run by three principles, which is three principles that one of my baseball coaches taught me. It's just do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, say what you're supposed to say when you're supposed to say it, and be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And if we can operate in those three principles, we have everybody's happy, so
team sports coming in again, right?
Right. Yeah. So you use those principles that you learned. And so that's how I kind of try to run sales or marketing in any kind of way to make sure that there is proof in our promise. So that's what we do. We try to always make sure. Oh yeah.
Calls. So now you said it's kind of morphing now into something different. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So now the majority. So, in business, you come across problems and you try to look for solutions. One of our biggest issues was our logistics and how it was managed, how we controlled and scheduled stops and communicated with drivers and filled out manifests and all of this. And we had a system that we had built for us by a company, but it just didn't really perform to the kind of level that we needed it to perform at. So sales were doing well, our tire counts were doing well. So I was sitting at my computer. I was like, I feel like I can build a better system than what we're using. And also from like a sales perspective, if I can do that, that lowers the business costs of what we're paying for it. So if I can lower the costs and improve operations and how everything goes, it's a win-win. So I started developing myself an app that we have now branded and called Treadset. It basically is the heart and bloodline of our entire company. We use it every single day. It tracks our clients in terms of their behavior, how often they cycle and churn in terms of when they want their pickups. So if we have a new client and we pick them up, it will automatically track like, okay, they get picked up bi-weekly, and it'll send reminders to me as a salesperson. Hey, they're coming up on their time when they usually need a pickup. Maybe give them a call, or it'll automatically send them an email follow-up. But it also keeps all of our routes in one area. Everything is scheduled that, us as admins, we can see everything all in one place. And then I made it and created it in a way that my driver could then digitally fill out his manifest and collect his signatures right there. And once that is completed, that the first portion of his manifest will immediately be emailed to the business while he's still on site. And then that copy will be sent to us as the processor, as receiver, and we can sign it, finish it, and then that will also be emailed to them as a completed document. So we've put that all in one system called Treadset, and it has a bunch of, that's like the core of what I built it to be. And of course, as we use it, you get more and more suggestions on how to develop it further, a good feature that we would like to see.
You're asking for more suggestions, I've noticed. So that's a big trail I saw that you were leaving, is almost every significant post that I see, you're asking questions, which I love that. So you're on someone else's, you're commenting on something. I think you might have even commented on mine or one of Brett's posts and saying, what are your pain points? What are you seeing needs for? And I can see that self-education happening, right? Is like, oh, okay, I need, what are they struggling with in Florida? What are they struggling with in Idaho? What are they, manifest wise? And you've probably learned, as I have over time, that each state is very, very different, right? And like what we need to move tires around versus what you need manifest wise to move tires around is very different. And there's a lot of tracking that involved, and I know that that's coming. So we too are implementing some of our own software and tracking systems and things like that, because I know right now, when we go into Oregon, we have to manifest basically every end of life tire going in there. So we've learned that this is a good way to do that. And was that an internal push from you? Like you said, hey, I see we're doing all these things over here, and we need to just kind of scope this in.
Yeah, I think what I started to realize is, kind of from my own perspective, I didn't know that this industry exists. So that means there's other people that don't know this industry exists. And the more research that the more we do, we've realized there's a lot of bigger companies, much bigger than ourselves, doing tons of volume. But maybe their website is older or not updated. So those thoughts came as like, how can we bring tire recycling and processors kind of forward into the 21st century with, new technologies or tracking to make the filing of all the paperwork that is required for state compliance a little bit easier and easier to call on for not only processors themselves to make sure they stay compliant with the state, but haulers themselves to also make sure they stay compliant with the state, and the shops themselves, because their business can be at risk if they get audited or they get checked for all their paperwork and they're missing something, they can get shut down. So that was kind of the thought, where how can I design a system that helps everybody involved with the entirety of tire recycling and can benefit all together, because I feel like we've had talks with other processors, and sometimes it's a race to the bottom with your pricing, and you just end up chewing each other down to death while trying to go lower and lower in price. So how can we, instead of trying to fight for each other on those ends, how could we as BSG potentially help every processor in the country or even in the world, in the future? We want to position ourselves as processors, just helping processors, because we've seen those problems in our own side, and we've identified that those could be potential problems in other processes as well.
So that was my next line of questioning, was along those lines. So I'm sure you saw some unique challenges getting into that, right? Like, is it most? I see you keep looking off screen. You have a visitor with you?
I do not. I do not.
Okay, maybe you're just thinking. A guy told me one time you look up to the left when you're trying to recollect and up to the right when you're lying. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but
I have seen that. But yeah,
yeah.
I just there was a lot of I built it entirely myself, and I have no technology background. I have nothing. I have website building. I have zero
Health background,
nothing.
right?
Yeah, I'm health.
Yeah.
I've worked with my hands. You know, I dig in the dirt. I slap cement around, or I make drinks. You know, it's always in my hands. So taking on that challenge initially, it was just I wanted us to just have a little bit better of a system. It was to help myself really with sales. Like I wish I had something that could track how to know who to call and when to call them instead of kind of just like going through, okay, when were they picked up? How many tires did they have? Okay, I should probably call them. Where are we going to be this week? Should I call them here? No. Okay, we're not going to be on that route. We're not going to be in that area. How can I build a route? And it was like making Google Sheets. I made a map in Google ourselves and tracked all of our clients on pins in that one map, so I could see and build a route and make sure that my logistics manager was on a efficient route for where he was going in the city that day. And I was like, there has to be a better way and a way to put this all together in one place. And then over time, I had a vision of what I wanted it to be and what I wanted it to accomplish for us. And it took a lot of testing and failure, tons and tons of failure, where I would launch it and publish it and update, hey, everything's good. And then our driver would be like, I can't fill out the signature, or the hauler name is missing on my manifest. And so, all right, let's go back. Like, why isn't this working? What do we have to fix? And getting all of the acro forms to properly fill out all of the right information and make sure hooking up email to make sure email is there. Like every little piece that it is involved in it. It took.
Sounds pretty new. Is there any part of it you still are looking to improve? Like, does it have all the inventory tracking and in and out rubber things like that going, or how?
Yeah.
I guess how widespread is the tool?
So the main things right now, it automatically tracks client data, client analysis. It shows you who your strongest clients are in terms of revenue. Shows you all of your revenue on times, like what day of the week your best days of revenue are. So it gives a revenue forecast into the future. Gives health metrics on how strong is this client, where's your revenue concentrated, and also in regions for us, right? So we know which zip codes are the most profitable and valuable for us for our tire pickups in terms of that service. Another big hurdle that we also had were our trailers, right? So we stage trailers, 53 footers at different locations. And then, for bigger accounts where they're filling up tires more consistently, we ran into the problem where I think we were trying to figure out where they all were, and we didn't know where they all were, and based off trailer number and things. And we spent like a day or two trying to okay, this one's at this place, this one's at this place. So how it's been built is we identify a problem that we see in our business and we add it into Treadset to help us to fix that problem, right? So once that's what happens, right? So it'll be working for a week or however long, everything's fine. And then we see something is hey, we need a trailer inventory tracking so we know where our assets are within the state. Are they in the yard? Are they full? Are they empty? Are they at this client's address? Is it full or is it empty? All right, let's move that and show so we can always see where everything is at in our business instead of trying to, or go out and look at all of our trailers and see, okay, which one's where. So in terms of inventory,
is that predominantly the equipment you use then, 53 foot, or you have pup trailers too, 28 foot stuff, or just
we do 53 foot dry vans. We do 48 foot flatbeds for OTRs.
Okay.
And 26 foot box trucks.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
And that's what we use. So our driver Brenner, shout out Brenner. Without Brenner, we wouldn't have Treadset at all, because he was the test guy. He had a system that worked for him. He knew how to use it. It had things that it didn't, he wanted it to do. But we for a long time we had to do both programs in parallel. So he had to like double fill manifests and do all of this. So big shout out to him. I wouldn't have built what we have for BSG without his input and what he shows. And last night he had an idea of what he would like to see, because we give him the ability to be able to schedule his own clients, so he can be a logistics manager and get his routes all together.
That sounds like a good shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's been paramount in the building of what this does. And we always shared in celebrations, like when the first manifest was officially emailed to a client from our app, like we all celebrated, because it took like 4 weeks for it to test and fail and test and fail. So he's been really helpful.
Well, you're reading ahead a little bit, because that's where I was headed next. I asked you about challenges, but I mean, obviously there's been some success there. That was a big day when the first manifest went out. Would you count it as a win? I mean, it's in existence.
A huge
so that's
win.
a win in my book, just that it's here. It was a vision and now it's a thing, right? And it's being utilized. That's a win for me. Any other wins you want to talk about?
Some of the biggest wins, I would say, is just probably the day that we discontinued the other system we were using, when it was officially time to cut ties. Hey, we don't need it anymore. We don't need that as like a fallback. Because that's what would happen if we had an issue with Treadset. We would have to fall back to the previous program just to make sure that we're still staying compliant and getting everybody their documentation. So the day where we were able to say confidently, where Boss Man was like, "What do you think? Do you think it's not production level, but when I was able to say it's able to successfully do everything that the other program was doing and more on top of it, we no longer need to have that and be paying for that." That was another big win. And then anytime like a new system or anything that I build into it successfully completes itself, and it's always a big win for me, because it's a lot of back and forth and testing and failing. And so when it finally, you hit that button or it sends that email and it's completed and you see it's delivered, that's always a big win to see like what you built is doing what you envisioned it to be doing, and is helping the business as well. So
we talked about, sales and marketing, and obviously that's like a tool, being able to see your daily routes and their revenue and things like where to put your attention in sales and marketing, but also the ops side, right? You got the driver. What would you say his name was again? I'm sorry.
His name's Brenner.
Brennan, right? Yeah.
Brenner, Brenner. Brenner.
Okay, Brenner, like that. Boots on the ground is what I call that. Like somebody that's out there going, "Hey, you might be saying that it's going to do this, but I'm telling you, I'm standing here and it's not, and I need to use the other system." And you're like, "No, we want to get rid of that, but he has to. And there's probably some push and pull, and that it's a real thing, right? That push and pull. And I remember early on when I came on with Tire Reclaim and United Metals Recycling, Brett Eckhart, a shout out to him, is the CEO of everything and a mentor to me in so many levels. But
great posts. He puts out great posts. I love his posts.
Daily too, and multiple paragraphs. And there's no AI involved in that. He was doing that way before AI was even writing those posts for people. But that ability to push on each other and still enjoy your job and still love each other in a word, just kind of like, hey, I know that you don't want to hear that it's not working, but it's not working. That coming from Brenner, right? And being able to have those honest conversations, because what happens is that I compare it to like this great country that we live in, the United States of America, where you have, two sides pushing, and hopefully by that pushing, you have the best outcome in the middle, right? And you know that everyone is giving their best because you're pushing against each other to get to where you're going. I feel like there was probably a little bit of that where you're like, "No, it should work." And he's like, "but it's not." And then, you work it out and you push through it. And then next thing you know, you got a product that you can use and he trusts and you trust and the ownership trust. To be able to track things as important as revenue, right? And
Yeah,
tires and
absolutely.
trucks and where they're at and assets, like lots and lots of money in assets. And it's amazing to me. And we still to this day go, where's that trailer? Oh yeah, we better look it up because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I dropped it at this dairy, but no, it's not there. It's actually at this
Right.
other. That's a real thing. That's money sitting out there. Like, what if somebody drove off with that trailer? You might not
Yeah.
even know it, and that's terrible. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear. You got that boots on the ground guy that is like cornerstone. I think that's a really good shout out on your part. Now that's talking a little bit about the collections, and we've focused on that a little bit. But you guys are processing as well. Do you spend a lot of time on the floor, like? Are you selling those products as well, the TDA and things? Does that fall under your umbrella?
Yeah, so we just recently upgraded our shredder. We just had an Amera shred that would give us a primary shred. So for a long time, excuse me, we had to landfill a lot of our material, which is never what we want to do. Obviously, that's our main goal. But we have to stay compliant with the state and fire codes. So like if we have to in a pinch, we'll have to landfill it. So we've been working on not only getting our size of shred smaller and being able to strip that steel out, obviously to put that into that circular economy of the steel as well, but to get it to a smaller crumb so where we're able to get it into different markets that see the need for it. We also make rubber mulch as well in 3 different colors, black, red, and brown. And we were able to sell, I think, more than we ever sold in years past last year. So that was always good. We were able to get more recycled tires into playgrounds and things like that. So we're always trying to look for different ways to utilize it because we probably have like thousands of tires, right? So I always try to find different ways. So with this new shredder that we have, it brings it to a much smaller chip size. It's about an inch, and it's the wire is very much reduced, not completely wire free, which I know is more valuable in international markets. Getting that wire out is always huge in terms of like
Well,
fluid
it's safety
pyrolysis.
factor,
Yeah,
right? It's just talking about mulch, and I always tell people, just think
yeah.
about your dog or your grandma
Mhm.
out in the garden. Like if you have mulch there, you really don't want one of those metal slivers getting into anybody's
Yeah,
paw or foot for that
yeah.
matter. So
It's
very,
painful.
yeah, yeah. We have one of our partners said they literally have a magnetic wand that they'll run through every bag and pull it out. And if there's anything on it, they reject it. And I think
It's
that's
smart.
yeah, it's a really, I mean, it's probably labor intensive and it probably
Mhm.
slows them down. And maybe the guy doesn't do it every time, right? He's like, I'm gonna let these go. And then, but
Yeah.
spot checking it, and it's making the guy on the ground understand the importance of it. And I think as soon as you explain that, hey, kids are gonna run across that,
Mhm.
you don't know where that mulch is going. So
Yeah,
being able to get 100% of the wire is very important, in my opinion. So you're involved in that then that
I
new
am.
shredder and getting that to pay for itself, I guess, in essence,
Yeah,
because
pretty much.
bring into a new fold or a new component to the fold, you got to pay for it. There's always
Mhm.
that. So it sounds like that's going well. The multicolored. Was there any advisement? Like, where did some of these product lines come from? Did you have distributors that were asking you for it? Like, hey, do you have any of this mulch, or did you have to go find those guys, or how'd that work out?
When I started, we were already selling it. So it was already a product that we had, and I just when you start a new sales job, they're like, "Here you go, sell it." So I'm not exactly sure. I know a lot of processors create that rubber mulch, as I've seen in terms of like in researching other guys. So making sure that we can find somebody, or it could be as simple as I had a client earlier this summer. He didn't want wood mulch. He saw rubber mulch and they give us a call. Do you have this? Yeah, we have it. And he loved it. His kids love it and they have a great time. So it's finding a need, finding somebody that it may be somebody just doesn't want to replace their wood mulch every year. And that's a good pain point that you can focus on.
Forever Bark.
Yeah, like we've been able to put it into a lot of like older community, like condo areas, like where it's an older community that they don't have the ability or don't want to do mulch replacement every year. So we'll throw our brown down, you don't have to touch it for 10 years. And they really like to hear that. So that's kind of where that comes from. And then with the TDA, TDF, with the smaller chips, that's it's interesting to try to source a buyer. We get calls we get a lot of inbound calls about it. Most of the time it's for baled tires, which we don't have a baler. So unfortunately I try to provide value even if I don't get anything out of it. That's something that I try to say. So like I always try to push anybody. If we don't have it, I'll try, hey, try this processor in Indiana. We're close with them. They should be able to help you out with what you're looking for. So it's always just trying to find.
Hit you up for some leads on the bale tires. We got our neighbor state, Washington. We're reaching out to them on some shredder services, and they're sitting on like 5,000 tons of baled tires built a castle around loose tires. It's just, I think they said it's like 7,100 ton altogether. I'm like, man, that's significant enough to involve maybe someone that wants to buy that. It's already pre-bundled. So maybe we'll chat about that later. And if you get a good enough deal, like they don't want it and they might pay you to get rid of it, that might be good enough to pay for some trucking. Like maybe somebody can use it. So that's definitely something we can look into. One thing I wanted to ask you about is the tread. I'm sorry, did you call it tread right?
Treadset.
Treadset. Sorry, I won't do that again. Treadset. So a Treadset, is it also kind of helping you track the sustainability, or kind of the coming in, going out, and how much of it's landfilling, how much of it's not? And
so so I got to give a shout out to my operations manager. That's Justin. That's where it's really helped him, right? Is that reporting at the end of the year, understanding where the tires came from, where they were, where they go, and those reporting to the state of Michigan. He even told me he probably spent the better part of a week for the end of the year tires and making sure all of the numbers are good. Where do they all come from, and all of that math. Now with Treadset, it by default tracks where all tires come in and go from, because that's how we've almost forced it. You have to run it through the app in order to get the documentation that you need, whether that be manifesting or where did that truck go. So for him, in an operations standpoint and making sure we're compliant, or if we get an audit from the state, he can at any moment's notice pull up even to the day or week of, say, if he wanted a report from the second week of November and how many tires came in and out of the facility, he'd be able to pull it up in a second instead of having to flip through files and try to get all. Yeah. So that it saved him so much time. And as we all know, time is money. So if I can save time to have him focus on other things in the yard, that's always going to be beneficial for us. So that was
time. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking about, because you're talking about time, right? And saving time. Like we have our own, like a system I said we're developing, and we might add a little time on one part and then subtract quite a bit more on another part. So when we're training somebody in this, and they're like, well, that's just one more thing I got to do. And then you remind them, yes, but you don't have to do these 6 other things. Like whether it be scan an email, write it down, put it in a Google sheet, like all these other things. Like, oh yeah, you need to go over your manifest at the end of the day and make sure it's accurate. And that might slow you down for 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day. But think of the 2 hours you saved throughout the day of not having to scan all these and move all these documents around, and who knows what gets lost in that. So the automation, I assume, played a huge role in that, right?
Yeah, that was one of the main goals. Like once we had the, I don't want to call it like the flagship, but like the main reason that I built it, right, was for sales and routing and making sure, seeing everything and just basically improving on the system that we had prior. So it was kind of modeled after that, but then just everything that we always wanted it to do, I was like, well, we can do that. I can put it in if we see that. So then the next part was the reporting, being able to see everything from a bird's eye view and be able to know where everything's coming in and out of. That's where the power of Treadset, it gets deeper and deeper the more that you go. And sometimes I've built so many things into it that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that I did that. Like there's an intelligence section in it where there's a built-in AI that I put in the system. There's a chatbot that I can just in the chatbot ask it, show me my top 10 clients in terms of revenue for this month. And it'll just bring up all 10 clients. These are your people. These are your heaviest hitters. These who would bring you the most tires, the most consistently. So that's what I always try to do. If I have something like, hey, we can put that in there, we can add that. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's see how we can work that in and make that more impressive or make things faster and easier for us to get paperwork out or help our haulers out or anything like that. So it's been nice actually to, if you own a piece of technology or own one from a company that I feel like there's probably companies out there that have a system that they use for it, but it's not necessarily tailored to tire recycling. So they probably have to use other systems along with that to kind of bring it all into one thing. So
and the terminology always seems to be off a little bit.
Yeah.
And, so it's like you have to learn all these other terminologies that don't really have anything to do. Like one we see a lot is like waste management tools and metals recycling tools, like a lot of those. And like you say, they don't attack the tire recycling specific needs, in my opinion. So
exactly,
we're building, some of our own stuff. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about. So now you obviously have a team, right? That you guys are working day in and day out together. The executive team, I'm sure, is really excited about having all of the information at their fingertips. So what are you guys thinking about growth in that market and growth over Michigan in general?
Yeah, so this has been while we've been working, right? So, we're always trying to look for different products that we can sell. Yeah, we have the TDF and the TDA, we have the mulch. But me as sales, I'm like, I go out and stare at that pile of tires all the time. I'm like, how, because it's my job to increase revenue and to grow the business. I'm like, how can I turn this into money? Turn this into something that's profitable for us? How can we keep this going and up to an upward trajectory? And then on LinkedIn, I wanted people to know what we had made, and just out of the chance that somebody might see value in it. And I had a gentleman reach out to me early January and said, I'm interested in your Treadset app. I would like to learn more about it. And then it was like that moment. I was like, we've had a product to sell this entire time. So that's where this has been within, I'd say, the last 2 weeks where, okay, now how do we position this? How do we frame this? How do we price this? What are our pricing tiers? How do we get it into haulers' hands? How do we get it into processors' hands? How do we show everybody the value that we've created? Because I do believe that this is something that could revolutionize just how tire recycling management is, because it kind of brings everything under one thing specifically designed for just tire recycling. It could also be used for other waste as well, but it's definitely specifically designed just for that niche of tire recycling, which I think is lacking in our business, at least in my experience, in my short experience of a year. So that today is actually what we're considering launch day. You were gracious enough to bring me on to your podcast and let me talk about it a little bit. We just launched the website for it today, this morning, like an hour before.
Go check it out.
I built the website for it. It was finally polished and I connected the domains, and it's at treadset.co. You guys can check it out. It shows all of the features, not all of the features, but some of the main features. You can fill out a form and request a demo to kind of see what it's about, what it can do. But also we're opening it up for some beta testing, right? So we got to have some other guys, especially in different states, right? So it's completely operational for the state of Michigan, but the challenge will be all of those compliance challenges for every single state and making sure that it can be operational for all 50 of them. So that'll be the next challenge that I will myself have to learn. And we'll probably have to get a developmental team, because I've been a solo show. I built it just me on my own. And so we're having discussions. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to help. I just wanted to help everybody, because we've talked with other processors, and I mentioned earlier that race to the bottom, and we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to eat into each other. We don't want to kill each other by eating each other alive, right? So I was like, how can I help everybody and everybody's still cool? Like, how can we be processors?
See their value, right? That's what I think the big part of that is, like, man, you're more valuable than a couple bucks a tire. Why are we doing this to each other? and how can we have this open conversation without getting into specifics? And then you got collusion and all those stupid, things that people can get into, and not talking about that. I'm just talking about expressing to someone, look, here's how you can find out how much revenue you're actually making and which stops you should just get rid of. Like, both of us should get rid of, because they're not doing either one of us any good, right? And sometimes that's a good conversation to have. Like, we talk about it all the time. It's the 80-20 rule, right? Like, the 20% of your customers that are the biggest pain in your butt, right? And that's it's
Absolutely.
it's a tool, another tool, Treadset, that allows you to see that in evidence, right in front of you. So I know that Eagle has a big EGLE, right? The Eastern Great Lake. I don't know the acronym, but are you guys a member of Eagle? And can you play on that?
Yeah, we work closely with Eagle. We talk with them all the time. We've actually brought Treadset to that. We've just had discussions with the state about what it is and how it could potentially help them, right? Because it's all, especially with how life is now, data is king. If you can have data on it, if you have someone that collects data that business owners or somebody at a state level for compliance, if they can see where everything's coming and everything's going, data is valuable. So we've talked to them, and they're like, great, we love it, we love to see that. We have to see it successful for other people. We have to see another processor using it and have it be successful.
Get there. I truly believe, because you're building it from a user's perspective, and that's something that the developers don't have. So it sounds like someone will help you and get involved at this point in the development area. Someone who's, that's their MO, like that's what they do day in and day out, is helping develop these software systems. But now they have that core, right? That foundation, someone who's done it, the Brenners of the world out there doing it on his phone. And them having that will help launch that into something. I think Levon Detweiler, I don't know if you're familiar with. At Intech, he would be a great guy to kind of bounce that off of, and maybe they have something, I don't know, but bounce it off more of just like, what do you think people need in our market? Because he's in Indiana, but he's just over the border from Michigan. And I think his company was actually in Michigan before they moved into that other facility. So he's definitely ingrained in that area, and that'd probably be a great conversation, if you ever could get with him. Which brings me to the next question was, are you planning to go to the tire recycling conference in Denver?
Is that the one? I will be there with Treadset. Just we made that decision today, because we're launching, and we're going to have
an early bird tomorrow.
It'll just be me. I know it'll just be me and probably my laptop and just
same.
So
that was me the last time. It's a biannual. So the last time I was there, it was just me, and actually I had a microphone and a camera for podcast, and I was just trying to get folks, and I'm trying to get set up over at this one as well. But maybe we can do a part 2, and you can tell me how far you've come in just a few months. I'd love to do a follow-up with you if I see you. Well, I will see you over there. And that's the one thing I loved about that conference, is it's not big. Like, I was used to Waste Expo and SEMA and all these monster Vegas shows that just, you get lost in all of the products and all the swag and all the different conversations. And if you're not a good note taker, you're screwed. But in this one, if the tire recycling conference I went to in Atlanta, it just felt really small and homey, which, being from Idaho, that felt good, right? So, but it was, I literally was able to go booth to booth and pretty much speak to everyone there. So I think you'll get some really great exposure for Treadset, and that's exciting. Having something new that
Absolutely.
works because you use it and you
Yeah,
developed it. Now you just need to kind of scale it, right? Or even find
absolutely.
somebody that'd be willing to get into that. So
Mhm.
it'd be
Yeah, we
exciting to
got to
see.
have testers and like I mentioned earlier, it's just nobody knows it exists. So you got to just tell people that it exists.
So
So obviously that's a big opportunity.
we talked a little bit about that software, how it came about, and the collections, and now even in operations and all your products. What's some advice that you could give, somebody else that's maybe just starting? Because I happen to believe that there's a lot of people that are looking at tires that weren't before. There's things like LinkedIn, things like this podcast, and not that I'll take any credit, but even others. I feel there's a little buzz around tire recycling. So, is there any advice you could give to somebody just getting started and in
In
that position?
processing or hauling?
Just all of it, just kind of your experiences, like what you've gone through. Like, if you could talk to yourself a year ago and say, "Hey, you need to be prepared for this. You need to be
Mm.
ready for that." How would that conversation go with Zach from 2025?
I would say communication and clear communication is the number one thing that should always be at the top of your list. The only time that anything breaks down, unless it's something like if it's a machine, but anytime a system breaks down or anything, it always boils down to a lack of communication or a lack of clear communication. It might have been communicated, but maybe those people weren't on the exact same page, and then something
Well, you
falls
don't have to
through.
bus roll anybody, but what might be an example of that? Just like somebody not doing their paperwork at the end of the day and just blowing it off, or not telling you that their truck's broke down, or what do you mean?
Yeah, just anything simple where it's like those little things, especially me as the developer of an app that I need to know everything. So if it wasn't communicated that one of these features or this button isn't working, and now we find out that 3 manifests haven't been sent, or they were filled out incompletely or incorrectly, and I wasn't let to know about that. Now we have a bigger issue because then I get clients calling me wondering where it is, and then I don't look like I know what's going on because I wasn't thoroughly communicated with. So then reputation is everything. So and trust is minimal in the market, right? Trust is so slim, right? So if whatever we can do to make sure that our clients trust us as best as we can, make sure we're all on the same page together and communicating as one conglomerate rather than individuals. Um, Communication is paramount in those kind of things. Or even something as simple as like, hey, I blew my tire. I'm not going to make it to these two guys today. Can you call them? Or can we make sure that we call them and tell them so then they're not just sitting kind of wondering where we're at?
Right, or maybe it's a button now that you can add that said,
Yeah,
not able to stop, what's the reason, and maybe a note section or something that if you don't have that communication, then it
right,
might never spark that thought to
right.
go, you know what? Because one thing
Yeah.
we're working on is the geocaching. And I don't know if you've got into that yet, but where, as soon as the guy leaves our building, then it sends an email to the customer saying, hey, we're headed to get this trailer. Make sure nothing's parked in its way, or,
Hmm.
make sure it's full and buttoned up because we want our guys to come and go, quickly, and
Right.
doing, having a software that can do that without the guy literally picking up the phone and calling, like all of those are time savers, right? And then
Yeah.
showing up there and there's not a truck blocking what you're trying to
Hmm.
pick up, all of those things add up to saving quite a bit of time, which, as you
Hmm.
mentioned, time is money.
Absolutely. One of the when you talk about geocaching, one thing that I've built into it is we have service zones. So Treadset tracks all of the zip codes that we go to weekly with every single pickup, right? So then I've connected onto our. That's another thing you can do outbound, right? But like another thing that I wanted to be able to create is how can I increase inbound? How can I increase inbound sales and kind of funnel people and help them understand? Because a lot of people just don't understand how it works, right?
Right.
So what I did was our website itself was all right, but it needed some improvement. So I was able to connect the two, Treadset and our website, with live data. So Treadset, our website and Treadset they communicate to each other. So Treadset understands and tracks what zip codes we're in and on what days. So somebody can go onto our website and request a pickup, and they've never been a client or anything. Fill out a form, what zip code they're in, and the website will tell you what day we will be in that area, and then it allows them to pick that day specifically. So that in turn lowers the time he would have to take to understand where his routing is, and gets people scheduled to put on the schedule faster. So that in terms of geocoding like that, we have specific service zones that it tracks with every pickup, and it knows what days we're in these zip codes to take care of people. Not only for him to be able to see that, because just like last night, he wants to be able to schedule somebody and then have the app show him suggested stops around that stop, which is an easy add. I'll just have to do that, which I've had that feature exists on my end of it, but not to my driver, right? So if you have other haulers that are individuals like that, they're going to need that kind of vision, that being able to see that visually without always knowing where every single one of your clients are and where they are on that. So if you can have a suggestion, hey, you're going to pick up ABC company, you should probably think about getting XYZ company as well, because they're 3 miles down the road and they haven't been picked up in a month. You should give them a call. So those little insights that I can provide to anybody to speed up the process and cut down on time, it just saves a lot of headaches.
So I know a good podcast when the time's just flying by like it is. We've touched on quite a bit here today. What did we miss? What do you think is a big component that we might have skimmed over?
We didn't talk at all about tire reclaim.
Oh, well, hopefully everyone is, they're following along, but I will touch on one thing quickly that we're super proud of, and you hinted to it in the landfilling and whatnot. So we also, I think, and I've explained to a lot of folks, and I'll continue to explain it because it is very important. It's top of mind for a lot of general public and processors and stakeholders is where are the tires going, right? And we still have to take some to landfill. And that's why we set a goal, and I'll give Brett 100% credit for this, is this term of road to 100%, right? And we want to get there by 2030. And we feel like we have a few things going in the right direction to be able to make that happen. Now, there's going to be instances where, a kiln is down or this happens and you got it. But we're talking about just like day to day, tires coming in, tires going out. And a big component of that for us, that they just got set on the ground, some big, heavy press molds. So you may be familiar with our Jomar, which is also the reason I know Devon or Levon at Intech, is he has a whole bunch of them and some friends, or I should say partners, that build them. So we have our Jomar system that makes chrome rubber. Well, now we have our own press molds in place, and we're building the system around that to make our own mats, equine mats, and other products that people have sought us out to make. So we're going to be consuming a lot more of our own rubber, which we're really excited about that. And the state of Idaho, we're getting the word out, but you can't call and talk to everybody. LinkedIn does a great job, and we spend a lot of time at different conferences talking about the successes, but I don't know that Idaho really understands how much we've done in the last 4 years. And you drive around and there's just less tires on the ground. There's less tires in alleyways, less tires in public areas. What I like to say is where we hunt, fish, and camp, right? Where we're raising our kids and our family. The last thing I want to see when I drive out, there's a big pile of tires. And I take that like as a personal task, like a why for me of swinging my legs out in the morning is there's a better way. Well, that molding equipment getting set down on the ground yesterday, we're talking cranes were involved, major ordeal to get this molding facility going. And that's a really big deal for us. And we're super excited about that. Oh, and then also, WayPay is our software system. We're starting to get that online more and more every day, taking different components of ours. So shout out to Stacy Duty for being patient with us while we launch it, as well as making some of the changes, which I guess he will be a competitor of yours now that you're getting into that area. But it's definitely another feather in our cap, I'd say, is getting that, actually functional, because it's hard,
Right.
as you say, to convert things from one industry to the other. And he did have a lot of experience with tires, which helped us make that decision. But anyway, back to the molding, that's a big step for us, and we're super excited. And honestly, we're getting closer and closer to that 100% recycling every day. And
Wonderful.
we have a niche, right? So I tell people we sit on an island. It's like one freeway in, one freeway out. It's
Right.
nothing like what you experience on a day to day. There's more people in your town than there is in our entire state. So there's a lot of rural aspect to what we do, and being able to manage that is important. And tracking different things is important. But that's enough about us. I'm really excited about what you got going on. I'm super excited to meet you at Tire Recycling Conference and learn even more, and maybe even introduce you to some of the friends I've made over the last 4 years. It's really interesting to be talking to somebody newer than me. That's the first time, because usually everyone I meet, I'm the baby of the group. I'm still learning, which I am learning daily and growing daily. But I feel like, and I just told my partner this, we're going into a new area in Idaho, and I just feel so much more comfortable about the tire conversation, because it's not an easy one to have. There's so many different misnomers, and people think it's this and it's actually that. And like you said, and even myself, tires were just the thing on my car.
Yeah.
And you
You
just
don't ever think about like where
once
they go after that.
they just disappeared. What do you mean?
It's like
They're
it's
gone.
one of these.
I gave the guys some money and they're gone. But
Yeah.
that is so much not the case.
Not at
There
all.
is a lot, and I got a pile back there to prove it. But which I'm sure you do too. And we're,
Oh, yeah.
we too. I look at that pile and I often think, like, what can we be doing different? How can we advance this? So I guess that was my question. We didn't miss anything with you then. It sounds like we went over it. You asked more about tire reclaim, but I
Yeah.
think we got you covered.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody's interested, we're more than happy to allow. We're looking for beta testers, right? So if you guys, I know you guys have your own software that you're developing. If you guys want to open up the door to see what we're doing, to maybe help out what you guys are doing, or just help us with feedback, we're more than happy to see that, because we need to be able to see it from other people's perspectives in different markets. So the only way to do that is kind of open up the door for a couple of people, try to get them on the system and help us build it together, and really be processors, helping
I would be open
processors.
to
So
that. Absolutely.
yeah,
Always
absolutely.
willing to take a look, if not for our benefit, even for your benefit, because we are
Yeah,
doing a lot of different things, and I'd love to be a part of it. Well, I think that's it for us today. I appreciate you coming on. And
absolutely.
Zach, Devon from BSG Recycling, you've done great things, and I wish you
Thank you. I
nothing but the
appreciate
best in
it.
the future. And I look forward to seeing you at the conference.
Thank you so much. It's been a
All right.
pleasure.